Oh, what a great decade this has been for coming of age films. Mid90s is directed by Jonah Hill, starring Sonny Suljic, I believe that's how you say his name, and Lucas Hedges. And then basically, I don't even want to talk about the general plot, but it's just, let's just say it's a coming of age story. It follows this boy Stevie, who basically meets this ragtag group of skateboarders, and he basically deals with having to, you know, mature at a quick age with these kids who are obviously older than him, and the things that happen throughout this. Basically, it's a pretty good time span of summer. Now, I loved this movie. A24, honestly, I do not want to have A24 bias, but this is the third movie I have loved from them. But this one's, oh my gosh, what a debut from Jonah Hill. Jonah Hill also writes this movie, which is really dope for me. And that's actually, we'll get to that later towards the film. His directing style is phenomenal. He seems like a very young, not as rebellious as Scorsese, but that's literally like the type of feel that you get from him. The cinematography in this movie is not, you know, exceptional to where you're like, oh my goodness, but there are a few long shots I was like, jeez Louise. And then there are a few moments that, you know, there's a nice composition. It's not nothing fantastic that you haven't seen before, but I really liked it. I also love the score that Jonah Hill gets from Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, I believe that's the dude's last name, who, you know, they've been recently doing the scores for David Fincher, and they do great scores. This is the dudes from 9 Inch Nails, right? They do amazing scores. I love the score in this movie. Speaking of music, obviously the soundtrack in this movie was basically based around rap music or just music in general from the 90s, and it's really dope. It actually has a really dope character throughout this film, and also doesn't overshadow what's going on in the movie. You know when they have, like, you know, a throwback soundtrack for a movie, and it'll kind of be like a character, but like the character's like, you know, overshadow, like, hey, we want to do throwbacks. Instead, like, this actually feels very subtle, and you almost don't realize it some of the time, which I really liked in this movie. I really love this Stevie kid. Oh my god, Sonny Suljic, I'm sorry, I'm pretty sure that's how you say his name. He is dope in this movie. You really do see that progression from where you see him as this very impressionable little boy to where you see him towards the end of the film as he's grown with these new characters. Lucas Hedges also brings a great performance per usual. And then we also see these other skaters throughout this movie. I can't, you know, say the actors off the top of my head, but I think Jonah Hill said that they're not like professional. I think these like maybe like their first ever film, and we'll get to those performances later. The script in this movie is pretty well done, majority from like the storytelling perspective, not the dialogue. We'll get to that later. And I loved the heart in this. Like, this movie just felt so, like, you felt good in this movie. And also, you know, if you're not familiar with how people used to talk, you know, before this PC era, you're gonna get reminded pretty quickly. I also really like the grain that Jonah Hill chooses to use in this movie, and also the aspect ratio he does. It's really nice in this movie. And there's something that's brought up towards the beginning of the third act that it's a scene that happens, and it got me thinking to where, if, let's just say, if the roles were reversed, we'll be getting a completely different point of view of this whole thing. And it kind of is dope because you can kind of subtly see what Jonah Hill wants to say in it, and he doesn't really say out loud. I really like that. At the end of the day, it does feel like a coming of age film, and the skateboarding never really overshadows what's going on. Ugh, I loved it. But to get my little flaws with this movie, for example, towards the beginning of the film, I don't know if it's whether I got used to it or what I'm saying is true. At the beginning, there's some parts that feel like ADR a little bit too much. Like, they go back in the audio and kind of fix it in post and stuff, like, you know, while they're shooting, and you can kind of tell. I don't know if it was maybe because I watched it at school. My school actually showed this for us early, so I don't know if it was based on the speakers in my school, or maybe I just got used to it, or maybe it actually was just ADR. It just kind of took me out in the beginning. The little things I didn't like in this movie were the performances they get from some of these skaters are kind of elementary, and, you know, you can kind of tell like this may be their first film, but they're not terrible. It's just like sometimes you're like, I can tell, you know, it's not like the best performance. And my last thing is with the dialogue. Sometimes you get too much of Jonah Hill humor, you know, like you can tell Jonah Hill humor sometimes. There's a little bit too much of that, and there's some humor that kind of doesn't, you know, hit, you know, some of them that, you know, doesn't feel as natural. But majority of the dialogue actually does feel more natural, and it's really dope, and it actually flows. You meet these characters, I don't even want to say their names. All in all, Jonah Hill has a great debut with this one. I loved watching this movie. Sonny Suljic is definitely a kid you should be looking out for. Lucas Hedges, look, this dude's on fire. Him and Timothée Chalamet, actually Timothée Chalamet may be taking the L right now, because Lucas Hedges still has Boy Erased, and he still has, what's the other movie? Ben is Back. This dude's amazing, and he brings a different performance that you normally don't see from Lucas Hedges in this film. I love the score. I love the soundtrack. I love the directing take that Jonah Hill brings with this movie. Just a little bit of dialogue and performance issues and a little bit of an ADR issue. Other than that, I am definitely going to give Mid90s a 9. Alright guys, please go watch this movie. A24 is on the roll. I am loving the coming of age movies we've got from this decade. This decade may have been like the resurgence of coming of age films that, you know, we haven't thought about. I'll continue to drop reviews. I have Old Man the Gun that I'm seeing today. I see Bohemian Rhapsody tomorrow, so you'll be expecting those type of reviews. I still need to see A Star Is Born. I don't know, I keep postponing it, but I definitely will go check it out. Once I get all those figured out, I'll let you guys know when the reviews come out. Alright, see you guys later. Peace.